I want everyone to stop and imagine for a second that you're 6 years old. Now, complete the following statement. When I grow up, I want to be... See, when you're a kid, it's easy to answer that question because anything is possible. Six-year-olds are creative and optimistic. Anything is attainable. It's only as we get a little bit older that things get more serious, right? You get into high school and you have to choose the classes you're going to take, the activities you're going to be in. You start thinking about future plans in college, and your parents keep talking about getting a good job, whatever that means. Really, it's just them saying that we don't want you living in the basement when you're 34 years old. Well, I'm 34 years old and happy to report that I don't still live with my parents. I have 2 degrees in music and a job as a high school band director that I absolutely love. I'm so happy with where I'm at and what I'm doing. But I have a confession to make. I have no idea what I want to be when I grow up. And you know what? I'm totally okay with it. In fact, I kind of look at this like it's my secret superpower. Because sometimes I'll have a kid come up to me and say, Mr. Mariska, sometimes you just act like a little child. And I'll say to them, yeah, thank you. That's the nicest thing anybody has said to me all week. Basically, the thing that I love about young children is the fact that they set goals without thinking about whether the task is possible or impossible. What if you could go to work every day and didn't have to constantly worry about the consequences of making a bad decision? What if you could set goals for yourself without having to worry about how much work or time it was going to take to achieve that goal? What if the work that we did and the learning that we took part in as adults was approached with the perspective of a first grader? For example, when I was growing up, my mom did something that was either completely brilliant or totally accidental. I had this beautiful toy box my grandpa had built for me and had the usual things in it, blocks and Lincoln Logs and board games, but it also had sets of math flashcards in it, in my toy box. Now, before I could even read, I loved flipping through those cards, looking at the numbers and discovering the answers and finding the solution to those problems. I learned my math facts long before I could read sentences or before they ever taught me addition and subtraction in school. The thing about it is that no one told me that I shouldn't. And nobody told me that I should. So each day I continue to try and find the answers to problems, adult problems now, but not worrying so much about failure. And I'm not saying that you should approach your job carelessly or that you shouldn't plan ahead. What I'm talking about is being willing to take a risk when other people are afraid to. So think about the time that you took a risk. For me, it was leaving a job that I'd had and loved for 8 years. About 6 months after accepting a new position here in Austin, a new teaching position, people would ask me all the time, do you like your new job? Well, every day is not easy, but do I like my job? Heck yes, I love my job. But here's the kicker. No matter what job offer I had accepted, my answer would still be the same. I would still tell people that I love my job. Because the things that I love about going to work each day is not so much about the job description itself. For me, accepting the new job was about taking on a new opportunity, taking on a new challenge. And that, for me, is the joy in living life with the perspective of a child. I think this is why kids are drawn back to video games time and time again. Think about it. In a video game, if your avatar is killed, what happens? You get a new life and you get to play again. When I was 6 years old, I loved playing Super Mario Brothers. I can't tell you how many times I played that game before I finally saved the princess at the end. 1,000 times, maybe more. But here's the thing, the genius of the game creators. When Nintendo created Super Mario Brothers, they built a really, really interesting trick into this game. When you reach the end and you save the princess, after you've won it all, you know what happens? You get sent all the way back to the beginning, and they ask you to play every level of the game over again. It's what they call hard mode. But now, your enemies move twice as fast. So what happens when a kid is presented with this opportunity? Well, they hit the start button and they play again. For me personally, no amount of intuition or planning could have predicted the path that had led me to Austin, Minnesota. And now that I'm here, I leave myself open to new opportunities that will undoubtedly take me to places or new positions that today I can't even dream of. But bringing a childlike perspective to your job doesn't mean that you have to move across the country. It doesn't mean that you have to take a new position. It's its application to the day-to-day tasks. For example, I simply refuse to fulfill the expectations that other people have set for me or for my job description. For example, when I came to Austin and I started this new job a year and a half ago, I met with a whole bunch of people to learn more about the school and the community and what the expectations of my job position would be. I talked to current and former teachers, and I showed them the music that I wanted the students to play in the coming year. And I remember when one of those people looked at the music and he said, "Oh, you can't do that with these kids. That piece of music is too hard." Well, fortunately for him, I have the mind of a child. I still possess the same determination that I had when I played Super Mario Brothers as a kid. I set out to save the princess every day. And when I do, and that hard mode kicks in, I kick in even harder. But let's be honest, failure is part of the process. And working in a school, you have to learn that pretty early on, right? Kids aren't perfect. Adults aren't perfect. But I don't let that get me down. When I start teaching a new piece of music and some kid says, "This is too hard," I don't accept that as a legitimate answer, because I don't want that kid to someday grow up and become the sort of person that always has negative things to say anytime that progress is suggested. These are the people that go into online forums and newspaper websites, and all they can do is say negative things about new ideas. They're unwilling to believe that they can be part of the solution. They only find the negatives. Now, I don't take part in that. I would rather try and save the princess, or more literally, get my students to play that piece of music that someone else told me was impossible. And that success is contagious. Because the success that I have on the concert stage is not really about my success. It's about my students buying into the same philosophy, believing that they can achieve a goal, that they can play a piece of music that is harder than anything else that they've ever done before, that the end result is worth all the time and effort that they've put into it. And here's the real kicker, is that if we approach that learning truly from the mindset of a 6-year-old, it won't seem like work at all. So, I leave you all with a challenge today. Are you willing to go to work on Monday and view your job through the eyes of a first grader? And if you said yes, you might want to ask yourself, once again, are you sure you know what you want to be when you grow up? Thank you.